made me...
Oh, we can't start off by getting emotional.
If I was to think of the word job, I would think about something that I wouldn't really enjoy doing, but I had to do it. And this is the other way around. Where is arts being invested in and paid for? Private schools, independent. They're champions, Steve. You know, going into this future today, while we're preparing young people for where they're going now. No, I remember seeing 4 men in suits at the back of that room laughing.
3, 2, 1.
And that's how every good drama game starts.
Where's the effing creativity?
Can you see? He's got better.
Yeah.
Very good.
It took me like 10 goes.
Brilliant. Here we are. Welcome, Kathi.
Oh, thank you very much.
lovely to
Delighted
have
to
you.
be here.
And for those people who don't know Kathi, first of all, where have you been? Sarah?
I'm very excited to have Kathi because she is one of our favourite people, but also one of our biggest inspirations.
Absolutely.
And I know you're going to hate us saying that about you, but you really are. And I think when you said you'd come on and be a guest, we were really excited because we genuinely don't think we'd be doing what we're doing today if it hadn't been for your influence. So thank you.
This made me...
Oh, we can't start off by getting emotional.
Okay, let's get the really awkward bit out of the way. So, this here, everyone, is Kathi Leahy. She is a pioneering director and producer with over 4 decades of experience in theatre, outdoor arts and community engagement. Based in Coventry, she first gained recognition as artistic director of Shaskeen Theatre Company, where she created and directed acclaimed productions such as I'll Tell Me Ma, that was a terrible accent, I'm not going to do it again, and The Wedding, which was a co-production with Cork Opera House.
And then she moved on to form Imagineer Productions, and Kathi led the company's transformation as a national leader in outdoor arts and cross-disciplinary performance, which has been very exciting. And that same team became the creative force behind Godiva Awakes as part of the Cultural Olympiad in 2012, a project that is very close to our hearts, as well as yours, I hope. And you created the very famous 6-metre high Lady Godiva, who has been on such an incredible journey. It journeyed initially from Coventry all the way down to London and was a project that encompassed your vision of art, engineering, community and storytelling on a very grand scale and had such an important social message as well.
And, well, more recently and during the pandemic, while we were all trapped indoors, Kathi ventured outside bravely and she oversaw the redevelopment of the Daimler Powerhouse here in Coventry, turning the former historic factory into a thriving creative hub for artists, engineers and young people. A legacy, and can I say, the best legacy from Coventry City of Culture 2021.
Yeah, one that is still going,
yeah,
thriving.
Yeah.
And I think what's really impressive is that throughout all of your creative career, you've always been somebody who's championed access, inclusion, innovation, and never been afraid to take risks, which has been a massive inspiration to not only us, but many, many people who've worked with you. And you're continuing to inspire your sense of collaboration and empowering communities and reimagining exactly what public art can achieve. So thank you, Kathi.
Can I just say that that was really lovely of you, but I just want to clarify that with Imagineer,
what did you get wrong?
It was 4 of us that founded it and led all of that work. So
you were one of the founding forces.
And the same with Godiva Awakes. We were a whole team, so I was part of that, but I wouldn't like to take all the credit for all of that.
You can take 1/4.
I can take 1/4, thank you.
But also, even just the fact that you flagged that up and brought that to everyone's attention is a real sort of clear signal of how you have worked and how you do work creatively, and that collaborative process, bringing everyone in, making sure that everyone is welcome within that. But before I get into that,
we need to say why we're here.
We do.
Because we're here today, Kathi, to ask the big question, where's the effing creativity? Can you see? He's got better.
Yeah.
Very good.
It took me like 10 goes. It's fine.
You really had to take a deep breath there. Well done, Mark. I'm very proud of you.
So tell us a bit about you, Kathi, and tell us about your creative job, if you like.
My creative job. I suppose all of the work, what it's got in common in terms of creativity, is and in a really simple thing, it's about thinking of things, having some kind of vision, and making that vision happen with a whole team of people usually, and collaborators. So it's kind of I suppose the key thing is problem solving. That's what you do all the time, and you know that in the field of that we're in. So yeah, I suppose creativity for me is it's about having freedom and space to do that, to imagine and to come up with these things. But then it's also about, I think I should start somewhere else. I should start by saying, really, with creativity, that if it's not, I believe that everybody is creative. Okay, so I believe that everybody has that ability,
Yeah.
but often it's not nurtured, or it's not ignited, let's say, and so maybe not realised. I don't believe that. I don't believe it can be taught. I think that you can facilitate, you can encourage it, you can nurture it, all of those things. But it's because I believe everybody has it.
Yeah.
So I suppose with mine, it's been kind of just. I don't have a career path it's really bizarre. All the things I've done in the arts, it's just really bizarre. There's no like I had this goal and I went from A to B, and
Yeah.
it's just finding my way all the time. And the same with the things that I've gone into.
Yeah.
The fields that I've worked in, from indoor theatre, outdoor theatre, carnival, outdoor arts, project management, production, all of those things. I haven't had one career in one thing that's developed. I've just kind of gone in all different directions for various reasons. And all of those things, when you said job, I suppose they're just about, you've got this thing, you've got a passion, and you just got to make it happen.
Yeah.
So creatively, you've always finding ways to make that happen.
Have you been able to
answer the question?
Yeah. Have you been able to make a job then out of your passion, out of your creativity?
Well, I suppose I've earned a living at times, and at times I've still done it and haven't earned. You'd never go into this industry for the money, for sure. Maybe it's vocational.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the difference.
So
job is a funny. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I think of that as a funny. If I to think of the word job, I would think about something that I wouldn't really enjoy doing, but I had to do it. And this is the other way around.
Wow.
I love doing it, but and you do have to earn some. The older you get, the more responsibilities and everything else. So you've got to try and do that. But would I do it if I have done it when I was younger without getting paid? So I suppose, have I made a job out of it? I've made a living. I mean, at times it's been good, but
and it's been what you've done as your entire career. It isn't like you've gone off and done other things and come back to it. You have actually sustained a career made from your creativity, which I think is really impressive.
Yeah. I mean, even just trying to think of any other. Do you know? I thought the other day, I've only had, I think, one interview in my whole life. But that's odd, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's odd. So,
You didn't need to be interviewed. The doors just opened wide.
Do you
it's
know
not
who
that.
I am?
It's not that.
It's Kathi. Let her in.
No, do you know
Kathi
why that
Leahy.
is? Because often in what I do, I've been making it happen rather than I've been going to work for a lot of other different people. So I think that I've done a lot of tenders, maybe, or things where you've had to go and win a commission or a tender. That's a different thing. But to sit down and be, because if anybody looked at my CV, they'd go, "What is she? What does she do?" So.
Your CV is almost just as creative as you are.
Yeah, it is. Waitressing. I've done a lot of that at the beginning of, and certainly when I was at drama school, because I didn't have the money to,
Where
to
would we be
sustain me.
without the hospitality?
I know. But, the kitchen is just like it. It's like a performance going on every night in a kitchen. I love that. Absolutely love it. I think it's the nearest industry to what we do. Yeah.
You mentioned having to go for tenders, and I wondered, I'm really interested personally, what was it like being part of the team who tendered for the big Cultural Olympiad project? Because I don't think that was an easy tender to win. That was a national, massively competitive process. What did it feel like being part of that process and being successful?
What did it feel like? It was lots of different things, lots of different emotions. So I think originally Jane and I. So at the time I was working with Jane, and we were. I think Jane, Claire, and I had just made that transition from. We were all at the Belgrade at the same time, in different roles. I was a freelance director there. Jane was a producer, associate producer there, and Claire ran outdoor Arts Alive, outdoor arts, and then Andrea, also head of finance. She joined us later. So we were just coming out of that.
That is the Imagineer
That's the Imagineer team. And we were just, as they were going through a huge transition, although I was a freelance director, I'd gone from one main hour show to the next, literally. And then I was under commission, and I'd written a piece, and a new director was coming in, and I didn't know if that was going to go to production or not. So it felt time anyway we were kind of we'd just done a couple of events. We opened the Rico Arena, did a big event to do that. And we were doing, I think we just also won Carnival, a tender to deliver City Carnival, and also, I think I was in Trinidad for some reason because I got the fellowship, the Arts Council fellowship. So all these things we were just deciding though. We were just deciding what we were kind of where we were going to go, and this thing landed where the Arts Council said artists will take, because we'd been part of a consultation, artists will take the lead rather than we will put out a brief and you all apply, and blah blah blah, and because we kind of advocated for why can't artists come up with ideas and visions, and they know something, and actually that's the way round for the cultural Olympiad to go, rather than we all apply for, they come up with the ideas and we have to apply for it. So this was one that was completely open and free, and Jane and I had gone off to we were in Via Reggio to connect it to the carnival stuff, and we had this idea on the way back about Godiva, and it wasn't connected to that to begin with. But then when we came back and as a team and we started to develop an idea, we got very passionate about it, really passionate about how it could link everything and how it could have a lot of legacy and blah blah blah. So once everybody was really passionate, I think that helps. So you believe in an idea, and then your job is getting other people to, I suppose, buy into the vision or believe in the vision, but also how does it relate to them, and what will they get from it? So it was about building, we knew as we were kind of talking to various people that it was something that ignited them. So going in for the tender, we put the document together, and then we got shortlisted, and I think at that point that was exciting, and it was really scary as well. It was nerve-wracking. And then we kind of started hearing who we were up against, because this is a regional thing. And then we talked about what that would be. We knew it would be a panel of people, but a lot of there'd be, for want of a better word, ordinary people in there, public. And that was really, for me, that was the best thing, because I thought, and peer people, which would be great. So the tender became how we what we decided to do was, you had a little bit of money to put together your so that you could make a creative tender, I suppose, and present it. And I persuaded Jane to spend it on making a film, because I thought if we make and actually that was a little bit inspired by Debbie Isaac, because I knew that she used to make little short films to sell her idea for a film.
And that's Debbie Isaac from the Nativity film fame.
And Snarling Beasties, because she was, they were part of the theatre network we were part of in Coventry, Independent Theatre Network originally. So knew Debbie, knew really well, but I knew how she used to make a bit of film to visually explain what she was passionately describing, and it will feel like this and it will look like that, and so
that's what you did.
That's what we did. So we made a short film, and we got some animation in it, and presented that. But I have to say, on the day, I shouldn't say who it was, but the people before us, I'd just been to a funeral the day before of my auntie, right?
Okay.
So I hadn't practiced my pitch because I just couldn't. There was no space, and so these people came running down the corridor, and they were jumping for joy, and they had just pitched before, gone in before us, and it felt very difficult because it felt like, oh, they've done brilliantly, and I think people who don't know me don't think I'm like this, but I get really, really nervous, and but I don't mind if I believe in something, I'll get up and talk about it. Anyway, so me and Jane, Claire and Andrea aren't the public talkers, so they weren't going to do the talking at the pitch. So it was Jane and I. So we got in there, and but we showed the film. There was a really good response to the film, and we just had to give it our all, So we came out, but I think in the car on the way back, I didn't feel I'd done a good job, So I went home and I got quite upset on my own.
I thought you were going to say quite drunk.
Maybe a bit of both. Yeah.
So that was it. But then obviously that wasn't the case.
Was that where Uppy came from?
Uppy was, I can't remember if that was the timing.
That you did just before you go in.
No, we do that. We did that. Actually, we did that a lot through the Godiva project, but I can't remember the timing of that. That was where we worked with Angela De Castro, a fantastic clown, who taught us all this thing that you just got to be in the moment, be present in the moment, and that's. As long as you're there and you're in the moment, and also you need to want to be there. So Jane and I, before we were getting up in front of people, because we had to raise loads more money on top of that, and we used to just always turn to each other and go, Uppy!
Yeah, and I think you taught us through that process before we went on to do the performance. We'd have little Uppy moment.
Yeah. I'm quite interested in the fact it was. For those
Apologies,
who don't
that was
know.
a really long answer, wasn't it?
No, that's
I was imagining the answer would be like, I felt really nervous. But it's all right.
I think there's lots of things that go into these things,
But for me, what was interesting is that you're talking about a core team of 4 really strong women, and you're pitching this idea about Lady Godiva, who was essentially one of the first really empowered women. And is that something that's really important to you as part of your practice, as you as an artist?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we all felt is, and certainly now I can reflect because, coming at this age and coming out of that 17 years of that company, I think one of the key things was women lead differently. They lead differently. And there's something as well about, sorry, Mark,
no, go for it.
But I'm going to say, they don't have as much ego.
Yeah.
Ego and power, and I don't even know if that's a whole thing about, just general kind of society and the way that men and male and female develop, but women are more. I think they're good multitaskers, far better than men. They're able to because there's something about they juggle all of those things all the time naturally. So I tend to find on the whole that they're caring, they're nurturing in a different way. So they lead with a kind of with that thing going on, and then I think that they can be equally driven and passionate, but its drive is coming from a different place. Yeah. And I don't know. I can't evidence that other than my experience, and I feel that our work, and particularly when we work together, and our ethos was always community, and our ethos was all there's a whole here, and community and high-end arts all belong together. All of it works together, and actually engagement, and when you bring all those elements together, like business, if you're in a community, everything's part of that. The schools, the businesses, young people who are trying to find their way, the professionals, they're all part of the one system, what's the word?
Ecology.
Yeah, ecology. And so I think that's how we've always led in the arts, and certainly when we were doing Imagineer. So what was your question?
I think you answered it. You did it.
Absolutely. Although I did.
That's the other thing, I think out loud. I don't think and then analyse.
Women do lead differently, and I have a boss who leads with an iron rod.
Do I?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that you can't be strong. I mean, look at me, Claire, and Jane. Certainly, are completely different personalities as well. It doesn't say that we're all like the same in that. But I think as I think a lot with world politics, because we're talking about that now. What's the significance of, like, there was Godiva, social justice, and however you want to look at that story, how it was obscure, exploited and everything else, it wasn't women who exploited that, it was men that exploited that story and introduced peeping Tom and all of those other elements. Actually, when you look at her as a powerful medieval woman who was a landowner, who actually was one of the only noted landowners still kept lands for a time after the conqueror, William, it's him, isn't it? So I think there was her. Then the ethos of Godiva project, I introduced to all the young people all these different women, like Wangari Maathai, first female member of parliament in Kenya, and all of these women that we looked at that were about inspirational, and then looking at yourself as just they all start. They're ordinary women who make a difference or do change for good. And looking at people like Mary Robinson now, and there's the Council of the Elders. If those women, and she says this, if women were ruling, if there were more women leaders in power, maybe we wouldn't have as much conflict and other stuff in the world, because they would find a different way, and they to negotiate, to solve issues. The value of life is undeniable. Women are givers of life, so it's paramount, and it's part of their DNA to understand that the loss of that. So I don't know. There's definitely something about. There was definitely something special about that company. But when I go back, Aisha Coco, my very first company, that was all women. When I did Shaskeen, that was primarily to tell the story of Irish women who had come over in the 50s and 60s and unearth their stories with them, because they weren't being told. Because women, again, I think, is it Sandy Tostick is trying to do a Wikipedia about women, because women's history is just lost.
Yeah.
It's not often recorded. I went through drama school, 7 parts for men, 3 for women in every play that we did. There's just it's endless, And
even Reese Witherspoon now has had that campaign of looking at a script, and every script that she reads, and the woman turns to the man and says, "What do we do now?" She throws it in the bin. Yeah, and it's part of a big culture change.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, we're going to take you back. This idea of nurturing, which is really beautiful, and how that kind of creativity can be found in that place that is nurturing and is about bringing it out. Where do you think your first kind of creative moment was? And I want you to be really specific, to try and capture one moment in your lifetime where you encountered creativity, or you felt creative, and it kind of shaped then the decision to go into this bizarre career, job, whatever you want to.
Oh gosh. God. I can think about. I'm 63, so memory. But there are about 3 little moments that are really clear in my head, and I don't even know which was first. But I can't. When you say one moment.
Yeah.
But shall I tell you the 3 quick ones?
Go on, yeah.
So, actually, sorry, I have to say 4. So the first one is my dad.
That you know that.
What? I've just clicked what my dad. So my parents are Irish immigrants, and we grew up in Willenhall, which is Coventry. Everybody will know Coventry area. The people who are listening in Coventry. So along with lots of other immigrants who were there, and he came over from Ireland, worked in a factory, sent mum. So we lived in a house. There was 7 of us. So there was my grandparents, my mum and my dad, and I had 2 brothers. And every single Saturday, my dad worked in this factory, hated it. It's the only regret he ever had in his life, was that time in his factory. He was really, I didn't know this till later in life, but he was very creative. He was he trained as a carpenter, but he was always making things. He used to draw, really. But his creativity was finding solutions. So there was a shed in the garden, and every single Saturday, my dad was down in the shed. Often my brothers would be popping in and out of there, because my 2 brothers are incredibly creative, I would say. And this is where I think that came from them. And for me, he was always making, because we didn't have like bought furniture apart from the essentials. He was making it. He was making it all. He was making every time something was needed for the house, or he was down there making it. Right. So that's part of. I observed that, and then the other thing was when he was down the shed. In our house, because there were 7 people, I couldn't, and 3 channels on the telly. I never had a look in. I was the youngest, so I didn't choose what we could watch. But I don't know why, but I wanted to watch things like ballet and dance and black and white films. So on a Saturday, when they're down the shed, I'm watching Bette Davis and musicals, black and white musicals, and I'm jumping around on the furniture, like just imagining I'm in the thing. So there's a musical, I'm dancing. Don't know how to dance, but I'm dancing. And so that was one that... That was all going on, but that was the only time I could actually have access to anything because they didn't watch anything that and I don't know why I wanted to watch that or where that came from, but that was a strong influence. The other one was then, maybe this came because of that or became before it, I don't know. We played out in gangs, in big gangs, not the kind of gangs that exist today. And we played out all the time. So, that was like school holidays. We were outside all the time, making up games, playing games, role play, whatever. And I was always putting down a big blanket and making everybody do a show. And then telling, the mums and dads. So we had to do a show. Don't know where that came from because I wasn't going and seeing anything. Yeah. We never went to theatre. We didn't, none of that. But we were doing shows. So that was that. And then my real moment of magic was sitting on the pavement in town because my mum would take us in for the carnival, Coventry Carnival. And all of these lorries we'd be waiting. They'd come down the road and I thought, where is this magic place that these are all coming from? And who are these magic... I thought they were all lived together in this place that were on the floats. And I was thinking I want to go and live where they come from. And then, the carnival would go past and there was thousands of people on the streets because all the factories... I found out later, but it was all the factories who took part. So that was... they were kind of my key things, but my house always had there was always Irish parties and so there was always like singing and storytelling and my gran played the melodeon, the little squeeze box. Yeah. And so I was surrounded by that kind of thing. And then when I switched off to... when they were all watching telly and there's 7 of us crammed in a room and, they were all watching stuff that I didn't like, we had a record player and I had headphones. And I put the headphones on and we only had a few records and I would listen to the same record again and again and again and just imagine stuff. And that's how I create work. When I'm trying to create ideas, I listen to the same track again and again and again. So
amazing. So it's like it was naturally in you, that creativity.
I don't know,
it feels like what you're saying is it wasn't coming from any outside influence, but there was just something innately in you, which I think we've experienced in you, the storyteller, the people gatherer and the kind of the generosity that you have in wanting people to share that process. And
finding that track and trying to convey that feeling that you have into those other artists.
I would see pictures. And that was really weird. But I would do that. I'd be up the other end of the room for, 2 hours while they were all watching telly with those on. And that was really odd. But that... is it within you? Has it come from... my mum and dad must have been incredibly creative to leave Ireland at the ages they were and then to make their lives happen and to work around the fact they couldn't do what they wanted to do but had to do something else and then manage, 7 people and all of that. And so I think they were really creative in a different way. They use their creativity to problem solve, But also to support you and, support you to follow your dreams. You've already said that, the arts aren't necessarily... Oh, did you have the same experience as me? No, I'd just say this, that the support come from my mum and dad never told me or my brothers ever what to do, what to choose at school, nothing. They didn't... they were just really... they just let us. They were really free about what we did. We couldn't do, I wanted to go and dance. After doing all of that, I found my mum got in a charity shop or somewhere, got me a leotard, and the woman I asked the woman at the church hall down in Willenhall, could I go to the lessons? She says you have to have the dance clothes thing. So my mum found me this leotard, paid for a few lessons, but as soon as I couldn't fit the leotard anymore, I couldn't go. So she didn't have money like that for us to do activities. But when I said I was going to go to drama school, when I eventually did that, I found my way to that. My dad didn't understand. It was the only time ever that I was really, really deeply upset, because my dad never, ever, he always supported us, whatever we wanted to do, but he couldn't understand it. And he just said, I told him I was going to go to drama school, and he couldn't get his head around it. I mean, I was 21 at the, I'd been working for 3 years, but he couldn't. He just said, I don't know what you're doing. I can't. Because he just worried, I suppose, that what you're going to do is, you're going to be able to get a job.
Did he know what you were going to do with that?
Yeah, well, I didn't know. I mean, but I think that was really upsetting, because they'd never seen that before.
Okay. So it's time for my favourite part, Kathi, of this interview, and it's I've got a little jingle. I've made it up.
Oh, it changes every time.
Quickfire, quickfire. It's time for quickfire questions.
God, which means I've got to be succinct.
It's everyone's favourite part. Yeah, there's a rule to this, though, that you're going to hate, because you're only allowed like a one-word answer.
We can squeeze it to as fewer words as possible.
But
right,
yeah. And
you know me, I'm Irish, and
here
I'm
we go. The storyteller.
So, Kathi, what show do you wish you had made?
Oh gosh, I wish I had made like somebody else's show that I've seen, and I can't think I would wish I'd make somebody else's show.
Is there a show that you've got in you that you still want to make?
Yes.
Go on, give us a title.
In a Greek show.
Ooh. Bless you.
Been trying to make it for 4 years with a whole team of people.
Amazing.
So yeah.
I thought you were going to say Mark the musical.
No, nobody would ever say that. Okay, this is one that I think you'll like. What song or artist always sparks an idea for you?
Oh gosh, there's lots of like contemporary. Like Ian Audi and people like that, yes, but it's constantly changing.
Yeah.
So there's that bit, and then there's another era.
Whenever Primavera comes on, I always think of you.
We do.
Yeah.
I know.
Right.
Last question: are you more of a planner or a let's wing it kind of gal?
A bit of both. There's a plan, but as soon as something exciting happens, I'm winging it.
Love that.
I'll go off plan.
Which do you prefer?
I like to have that thing in the background, just because I get nerves going into working with people and thinking, I've had imposter syndrome since I was since I was a kid, because of I think the background, and also sometimes been proven true.
Yeah.
I've got a very good example of that. But anyway,
so, are we allowed to know?
Yeah, but I don't thought this was quickfire.
Oh, I mean,
go for it.
Quickfire's done now.
Okay.
So now we're moving on to creative imposter syndrome, which I think all of us experience.
Yeah.
So when I had my period of 7 years at doing a lot of work at the Belgrade, one of the things I was doing, I was really impassioned about doing young people's work that appeared at high quality, not playing under, like at the time I was doing it, there were tours that would go round, and there would be the main house show that was at night for the audience, and then a tour would play underneath it of children's work in the day, and then they would change the set round. Anyway, when I did the Twits, we taught, that became it was an ambassadors theatre group tour. So you're touring to venues. We did it at highest quality we could do it at, with aerial work and all sorts of things in it, circus work that wasn't happening at the time in theatres a lot. And we were playing 1,000 seater and 2,000. 1,000 seat is probably the smallest. So 1,000, 2,000 and even 3,000 in Edinburgh seater venues touring this work. And we had a 48-week tour, something like that. Anyway, when we were doing Sadler's Wells, so that was one of our weeks. We were on Sadler's Wells, and these guys, one of the producers, because Jane was one, but this other guy had got together a whole load of producers in London to come and see it, because it was about whether they wanted to then turn it into a run or do. And I had always been treated Like, I've gone into numerous rooms full of men where they have not acknowledged, you know, like, or haven't taken you seriously, or, you know, you're the one moving. So I went up, I was called up to go to this meeting, you know, after the show, up the stairs. And I knew this was going to happen. So I went upstairs and went into the room, and, you know, there was a kind of blanking effect going on. And I was there before the guy who set up the meeting. So I was in the room, and nobody spoke to me, and I was just standing there, and then I think I got a drink, and then the guy came up, and then he kind of went, oh, and blah blah blah, and then introduced and said, oh, and this is Kathi, the director of the show. And they all changed immediately their, you know, persona, and it's just that whole thing of they didn't expect me to be that person,
right.
And I've had that experience in a lot of situations where it's not that I wanted any kind of, you know, but I was there to talk to them, and, you know, and that was a waste of the time. So you do come out of it going, I'm not good enough, or I'm not what they expect, I'm not, you know. There is a kind of club, and I actually hate, and actually after it was after some of that work at the Belgrade, I just looked around at the audience as well, and I thought, this is great, there's 2,000 kids here, but they're not the kids that I grew up in Willenhall. And my decision to leave, you know, main house, whatever, theatre, that's what I mean about career. That would have been a perfect time for me to then carry on and have this great career, and, you know, because you can't get higher than doing a #1 tour.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I thought, no, I'm going to go out and do carnival, because that's just on the street, everybody's equal, and that's what I was looking for. Where do everybody meet, and where does everybody have access to it? So, it was a kind of like, it was a really, I don't know, a moment of like, this is what it's all about. It's money and power, and it's, you know, and you don't fit the bill. So I was quite happy not to fit the bill, to be honest, but it was a real, you know, I hated that change of treatment. Suddenly they wanted to know me, and it's like, no.
I think that is really incredible, and I think the person that we know in you, that really fits what we expect from you, that you have always been someone who works so hard to make everyone feel included and to really nurture talent. And I think both Mark and I had the opportunity to kind of, we're not going to get emotional, but you see in people what sometimes they don't see in themselves. And I remember a big moment for me was you said, hey, do you want to train to be an aerialist? And I was like, I've always wanted to fly, but never would have looked at myself as someone who could do it. And you were like, let's give it a go. And there I was performing, you know, 12 foot in the air with Godiva, and you have faith in people, and I think it's because you nurture creativity that faith then kind of becomes part of that person's confidence.
And that integrity that you have to really nurture that grassroots creativity and grassroots participation within the arts. I think it's magical, and it's something that, you know, we both feel very, very lucky to have been part of, but also I think the city of Coventry should be very, very grateful for all of that work.
God, it's getting a bit too much now. Thank you.
And here is your award.
Can I just bring you back to what you said there about, I think now, going full circle, that whole thing about nurturing, that there's two things. One is, because if it's about people making you feel, because you feel completely vulnerable all the time that your ideas aren't good enough. Yeah. I think, you know, if you start thinking you're great, chances are you're probably not, for starters. But you know, that's a dangerous place to be. You never feel good enough. That's why it keeps making you make more work. But I think I've just lost it. What's it? That
about being an aerialist.
No,
having faith.
Yeah, so somebody telling you. So I've never been able to do. So I've had that from people like Jane, and you know, in terms of producers or creative relationships like that, I couldn't have done some of those main house shows. And that, you know, if I'd stopped to think about what I was doing, you know, those tours, the responsibility, and for it to make money, and for, you know, for everybody that had to put money into it, and all of those things, and then think about carnival and being responsible for 1,000 people, you wouldn't do it, you know. But you have to have somebody who believes in you to do that. And I think, going back to my childhood, like now, the creator, maybe what I've just realised is actually, it was in my parents. It wasn't that they never stopped me. They didn't come out and say, don't be doing what you're doing out there on the, you know, they kind of just accepted that we all were who we were in what we were doing. It's like it's a weird. It's kind of it is the belief, and then the other thing that drives you equally, what I've just said about those blokes or all the situations I've been in, is if somebody tells you can't do something or you shouldn't do something, I've got this stubborn.
Yes.
But it's that thing about, like, do you know how many people talk? We went in front of the ambassadors group with at the time with Godiva to present, that project. Now, as much as there was loads of people who were great, came on board and believed in it, I remember seeing 4 men in suits at the back of that room laughing.
Wow.
And somebody texting the other person and just going, they're never going to make that work, they're never going to do that, because we were going around with that drawing. We came around with a drawing, and it's people of faith.
That was of Godiva riding a horse,
on a horse with 10 metres high at the time, and all these bikes and things in the air.
It was like female fishnet. Sort of legs
Stilettos.
and stilettos.
But it was kind of like the ambition, and I've never been scared, and I don't think Jane has. And you find the people who are your tribe in that way, that you have to take risks. You have to.
Yeah.
And I failed. I've done a show that was a massive failure. I've done a few, and actually they're hard knocks, and you feel mortified, and you want to leave the art. You don't ever want to do anything again, because you think, yeah, that's proved it. You're rubbish. You don't know anything. What do you think you're doing? But you somehow. I can't do anything else. It's just you have
That
to get
passion.
back up.
But
Passion.
there's also something about that demand avoidance that all artists have. That
Do they?
Kathi and I clearly do. But when people tell you can't do something, it's like, no, I can do it. I will do it. Oh, look, I just did.
Yeah.
We're going to finish, Kathi, with the big question. Don't say sorry. It's been amazing. This is the question that we're most interested in, which is, where's your F?
You changed it now.
Because at the end,
Come on, lads, get it together.
Where's your F in creativity?
Okay, well, I wanted to say things like fierce, because that's a real Irish term. It's fierce, windy today. It's fierce, good. And I wanted to say fabulous, all those things. But actually, true to myself, I have to say fairness. Where's the fairness? Because, I think, if that isn't nurtured, if that isn't ignited, if that isn't, with all the children who... their potential isn't realised, and how do they navigate? How do they, and there's so many people that don't get that opportunity. And I think also the fairness now, we all know what's going on with the arts in schools. We all know what's happening. I look at STEAM, so for people who don't know, so science, technology, engineering and maths is being deemed by national curriculum to be the subjects that are important to your future life. Going into this future today, while we're preparing young people for where they're going now. No, that's redundant. The curriculum's redundant, really. So in terms of arts and what that gives you, in terms of preparing you, if you look at where is arts being invested in and paid for, private schools, independent, they're championing STEAM. They understand the value of what arts brings. Arts in their own rights are important enough, but also all the things that come out of that, communication skills, collaboration, critical thinking, all of these things are byproducts of, what arts give you. Humanities, there are big global companies who are now championing, they have STEAM projects because they realise that the talent pipeline, they understand, how you're going to attract diversity, inclusion, because there's a whole raft of young people who probably applied learning is much better for them. They're makers, they're visionaries, they're whatever, they're creatives in a different way, and they're never going to have that realised. And if you don't have any money, you're certainly, if you're disadvantaged, you're certainly at the bottom of the heap, for your creativity being nurtured. Sorry, that's me political broadcast over.
But fairness.
So fairness, where's the fairness in creativity?
Is so important.
And also, I think it sums up everything that we know about you, Kathi. And I'd like to thank you for coming on, being so generous with your time, your thoughts, your feelings, and your party political broadcasts.
But where would we be without them?
Yeah, and also, it's not what where's the P in your creativity, but your P quite clearly is passion, and that.
Wondering where you were going there. Where's
Where's your P? I was like,
no,
Mark, where is this?
Yeah, and maybe the phrase your P is passion. I don't know, but I think that your passion, your fire, your fierceness, and your dedication to fairness has been absolutely woven throughout your work, and it's been lovely to talk to you today.
And has been something that you have nurtured in others and passed on. So your legacy is going to go on. And thank you so much for being part of our lives.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
legacy.
And I'm not dead yet.
She's still got lots of... This was in no way meant to feel like a retirement party.
No, it wasn't. Thanks for inviting me. It was
Thank
a real
you.
pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, wicked.
Thank you, Kathi. Bye.
Bye.